I introduce the first panelist, many of the participants in our session today may be concerned about the automation in the recruitment process. And in the absence of information, we tend to leap to the worst scenario. So we thought this session would help us all achieve a clarity on what is known versus what is speculation or even exaggeration. So taming the automation anxiety in the recruiting community is an important topic that is affecting many of our businesses. So we are very honored to create this panel to share what we know as industry practitioners, answer the questions everyone has about the automation anxiety in recruiting community, and give our audience some insights that they can share with their other stakeholders. So as a panel moderator, I'll be guiding you through the process. We have a short span of 1 hour today. So we are going to break this into two distinct chunks. So a few questions that our panelists are already assigned, which are being gathered from the audience. And the panelists would be speaking first, and then the questions will follow through. So let's get to right into the first panelist, Ms. Neena Alag Suri. A brief introduction about Neena. Neena is the founder and CEO of XOPA AI. She comes from an engineering background with a degree in electronics and telecommunication, and has been managing and running business in HR space for more than 20 years. Neena had originally founded an executive search company, NASDAQ Group, back in 1997, which she has successfully ran for 20 years. It was through this venture that she realized the insufficiencies and subjectivity of traditional hiring processes, and thus decided to pivot to an AI and ML based platform with XOPA AI in 2017. Since then, Neena has grown XOPA AI to have launched 5 successful products and has built a presence across 4 regions, namely Singapore, having its headquarters, India, UK, and more recently UAE. Over to you, Neena. And I have to read out the questions, Peter? Okay, you can start off, Neena.
Great, great. Thank you, Rajni. And thank you. I'm honored to be part of this panel. And this is a topic which I have literally grown up with. Like Rajni just gave you a background about myself. I have pivoted from being on the other side of the table as a.
Neena, can you please switch on your video? We are unable to see you.
Oh, can you see me now?
Okay.
Yeah.
Now we can see.
Okay, great, great. Yeah, so I've kind of literally spent now more than 2 decades in the talent space. Although I don't come from an HR background, I'm an electronics engineer, and so having kind of spent so much of time in a traditional HR consulting and executive search, I have kind of taken on board all the pains, not just of the employers, but there are lots of pains that the job seekers go through as well. And through XOPA, we have tried to address those pain points both for the companies and for the job seeker. There's a lot of stress here. I would kind of stress a lot on the job seeker, because that's one community which is ultimately the main asset of this industry. So I think I've been given 3 very, very good questions, so I'll dive straight into it. Rajni, do you want me to read out the question, or are you happy for me to just jump in there, just to give a context?
You can start off.
Okay, great.
Read for them.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll take you the questions for the audience. Are all the latest terms like AI, ML, RPA, and NLP more of technology jargons, or actually effective and practical? What are your views with reference to examples from non-IT industries or Salesforce-driven organizations?
That's absolutely the I would say the lifeline of the product that we have. So when it comes to AI, ML, RPA, yes, they sound very, they sound very, very threatening, or I think there's a fear of the unknown around these technologies, and that is what kind of makes people anxious about, what is it really behind that? What's really happening under the hood? So I just want to kind of take some time to demystify this a little bit and kind of, just kind of elaborate what does it really mean when it comes to recruitment. Artificial intelligence is based. The backbone of artificial intelligence is around data analytics, right? So the data science that kind of creates the models, creates the algorithms, is formed by using very, very large pieces of data, and I'm talking about millions and millions of data. The when the human cannot see the patterns in this data because these are so large, but the machines are able to kind of identify that pattern and give us insights which are humanly not possible. And this is what kind of really is ultimately AI. So these patterns create a rule, and rule is what AI is all about. So it's actually a very, very simple concept. AI is extremely useful in seeing beyond the human eye, like I mentioned, and this is kind of the next stage. And let's understand that hiring and recruitment are probably have been the most subjective industries since last three revolutions, industrial revolution 1, 2, 3. And things are still very, very human centric. Things are still very human dependent, which is great on one hand. Like BR mentioned, what about the personal touch and so on? However, how much can you scale the personal touch? How much can you scale? There is a scalability limitation, which comes when you don't use automations or artificial intelligence. So what AI does is really kind of takes your standard operating principle and scales it to the next level, and it kind of makes it available for everybody. It makes it objective. And why? Because if I give you a very simple example, that a recruiter goes through a resume, and we typically, if we were to only do resume screening for the entire day for 8 hours, we'd probably screen around 30 resumes a day. And then given the the fatigue, the tiredness, and so on, so obviously there's going to be a lot of subjectivity in the way I screen the resumes, and my screening will be very different from Rajni's and Rajni's from BR. So and now you multiply this over tons and tons of people, you are multiplying a lot of subjectivity. So hiring starts from the stage one, which is about how do you read a resume. And this is where the principle of objectivity really comes in, because it's in the benefit of everybody. How do you remove human biases? How do you remove human subjectivity? How do you make sure that you are not screening people out, and you're actually screening people in? And when I say screening people out, a lot of you will kind of relate to Control F, keyword search, and these are the errors which can kind of multiply over and change a decision. So what artificial intelligence does is, first of all, helps you to screen at the top of the funnel on very, very large capacities. So if you're getting 100 resumes or 1,000 or 10,000 or 1,000,000 resumes, how do you find out which are the top 5 people who are going to be the best for that job? And it's not about the 5 best in my close circle or in the 10 applications, but how do I look at my entire data of, let's say I have a talent pool of 1,000 people. How do I know that for this job, these are the top 5 people? So these are things which are beyond the human capacity. And this is where AI really, really adds a lot of benefit. Machine learning is nothing but making sure that you keep your algorithms up to date. So you create an algorithm the user makes certain decisions. So let's say machine says shortlist this candidate, but the human does not. So on an ongoing basis, you have to keep your algorithms updated, and that's what machine learning is all about. And robotic process automation, trust me, is something that everybody enjoys, because it takes away the manual work, it takes away the repetitive work, it just automates the process. So it's, they might sound like very, very fancy words, but it just makes a recruiter's life very, very easy. It makes it objective, and it gives an equal and fair assessment, and creates equal opportunities for all. So I hope I've been able to cover that, Rajni, on that topic.
Sure. Um, we'll go to the next. Uh, would you think chatbots are advanced or will become so advanced that they'll replace the role of a recruiter or a career counselor?
That's a really good question. I mean, right now we've literally come to, if I equate it to the telecommunication, we are literally in 2G. 5G is very far away. At the moment, we are just about embracing technology. We are just about getting used to it. And chatbots are at very, very nascent stage. They can only answer very, very specific. Even then, I think BRU mentioned that there are so many errors in the responses and so on. So I think this is just the beginning. It's going to take a few years for it to mature and for the data to start flowing in, for the machine learning to kind of make the chatbots better and better. But to your point, let me come straight to the point, which is kind of on top of everybody's mind. Will it take a recruiter's job? I would love to say no, but I'm going to say, look, jobs will go, but they will create new jobs, right? Jobs will be displaced. The kind of repetitive stuff that we do at the moment is going to be changed to more meaningful work. Humans have very high capacity to rise to the next level, right? I mean, and I don't think that, for example, any of us would mind that if I have to look through hundreds of CVs every day, why don't I do something more meaningful with my time? Because I'm much more capable than the machine, right? So yes, the jobs will go, but it'll create new jobs. It'll create a better job. And I want to kind of quote a figure out here. If you look at 2019, the non-digital industry in the US created 20% of jobs, whereas the digital organizations created 29% of jobs. So my point is, these efficiencies help the bottom line. With a healthier bottom line, companies reinvest, more jobs get created. It's just that they are different types of jobs, and you may not be doing exactly what you're doing, but you'll probably be doing something different and better, I would imagine.
Sure. With that, we'll come to the last question. How does AI initiative impact the human emotional experience, including ways in which AI, ML, and RPA address cultural sensitivities or fail to do so?
Yeah, I think it's proven that humans are probably the most resilient and adaptive people. I think COVID has taught us how from one day to another we can just change the way we work, whether we're working outside and suddenly start working from home. So humans adapt. And as you know, so if you go back to the steam engine days, right to where we are today with the 5G days, humans adapt. And all of us want to improve our lives. We want to improve the results. And I think when it comes to cultural sensitivities, AI, ML, all of these will evolve, because at the end of the day, who is creating AI? It is the humans, which kind of, machines don't create rules and regulations or the AI themselves. They follow what the humans tell them to do, right? So ultimately, I think it will be on the people who are creating the algorithms, who are creating the AI, that they are mindful of that. And I really think that the next big so to say certification and audit is going to be around your ethical AI, your good AI, and putting all of those things into certifications and stuff. So it's still very early days for AI, so I guess we have not reached that maturity. But just like we have SOC 2 and we have GDPR and so on, there's going to be a lot of compliance. It's going to be a whole sorts of revolution. So cultural sensitivities, if I'm on the right track, Rajni, on that question, these will all, the algorithms will become more and more intuitive. People will, we are still in the phase one of it. As it gets better and better, these are all going to be fed into the algorithms to make them more intuitive, more culturally sensitive, and more objective. And ultimately, I think the bottom line is what AI does is makes hiring objective. It does not make it doesn't take, differentiate between genders or race or age. It just sees the skills, and it identifies the best person for the job. So I'm all for
But
AI.
Nina, what is your experience in implementing XOPA in, say, a country like Singapore, and implementing in India, where we have definitely cultural differences in a country like India? What's your experience with your own product?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. And I think ultimately people are the same. And it is just the level of acceptance. We've had exactly the same experience. And I'm very proudly, I can say TMI is one of the clients, one of the most progressive clients who are hungry to make it, to make the impact, to improve the way things are being done. So in Singapore, now, if you look at the history of XOPA, we started in 2017. And I'm going to be honest out here. When we kind of ran this idea to the initial few clients, and especially the clients who we were doing executive search work for in a traditional way, and I was explaining the concept. And the looks I used to get is like, you must be out of your mind, Nina. What the hell are you talking about? So it everybody thought it's too human a subject to be able to make it make it so objective. But my big trigger was that I've seen a lot of unfairness in terms of inequalities, people getting screened out for wrong reasons, or opportunities not coming, no equal opportunities across the board, whether it is gender or race and so on. So that was my trigger. But I mean, it's shocking that how in the last 3 years, the acceptance has gone incredibly high. Now it is not about, are you sure? It is about, I am sure I need this, So I think that, so humans have, I think the organizations have changed their mindset. They're accepting about it. They're seeing the value, they're seeing the impact, and they're seeing the, they're seeing really what is the impact that these tools make. And they say that cannot, we cannot imagine not having it, So yeah, it's awesome.
Thank you so much, Nina.